don't even own the property for the very thing that you think you have the title to because you paid your mortgage and your taxes. Now, will somebody come and probably take it away from you? Well, if you don't pay them, they will. Okay? Maybe. I'll talk about that in a minute, too. But technically, the way it's structured, it's still not yours. Okay, at the end of the day. Minimum wage. How many of the 80% have ever had to function in the minimum wage alley, which is really what it is? So going forward as a civilization in this little country that we have here, we're going to have to rework the idea of minimum wage. I mean, I have it in my head that minimum wage should be $22 an hour. And people hear me say that and they go, oh, companies never pay that. Because they never had to. That's why they won't. Because they never had to. There hasn't been an adjustment in the price of living. It's still, minimum wage is still based on your contribution to housing being like 13% of your income. You know? So minimum wage, I think, is like, and one of the things that's happened is that we become entrenched at looking at what is good for a corporation like Walmart, to the point where they have their employees, a lot of them can qualify for federal assistance because even though they work there all the time, it just doesn't make their grade. So calculate about what you think life would be like for a full-time employee or a part-time employee at an institution that pays minimum wage, but it was about $22 an hour. Because anything else going forward is creating nothing but a continuous poverty class. And now people are clamoring for these jobs, which makes sense, because people want to work, but you can't get by, okay? And I like to call this next thing that we 80% give our 7% of the pie away to, I call it the box syndrome. And that is that after you pay your mortgage, after you pay your insurance and your utilities and your phone and your this and your that, you run around with the rest of your money to spend it all on these boxes. Whether it's, you know, the store, to shop here, there, but you're running from place to place to place to spend the rest of this money that is already a very small part of the pie. And that's kind of the grid and the maze that we're all hooked into. You also spend an enormous amount of your disposable income on essential utilities. I'm alone probably putting out $500 a month when I'm down here in Florida. But when you send your bill to Florida Power and Light, it goes to a private incorporated company that's based out of Connecticut, but is really international. So it's like every bit of the way you're paying somebody what's left of this little amount of money that you have in the first place. Of course, you're paying for all the wars. Okay? Not only do you get to send your kids so they can die in these wars, but you can pay for the wars too. You can make your mortgage payment, and you can bail out the bank when the bank tells you that they're going to implode. So it's like, if you let it go on and on, it's like, hey, we'll just take it all. We'll have more of that, we'll have all of it, so that we end up with a distribution like this. And it was about I think it was about 4 weeks ago, Alan Greenspan was saying, and he said right ahead, I don't remember if he was in front of Congress or who he was in front of. He basically said their Iraq wars were about oil.
What?
He said, we went to Iraq over oil. 8 years forward. Your former chairman of the Federal Reserve tells you that. And you pay for all of it. And you'll keep paying for all of these different things, because this is where all the money is centrally located that goes up this chain. These are things that a lot of you probably know about, have thought of, everything like this. But I want to explain to you how I came to rethink this dollar bill and then get into basic principles about redistribution so that we can evolve. Because that's the only option that we have here, is to keep evolving. After I had that accident, after a long legal battle of some sort, I was given some money. In Michigan, chiropractors don't have to carry medical malpractice. The doctor who injured me had something, so I was given that. It's probably, I can just tell you what it was. I don't even care anymore. It was a little bit less than $700,000. The medical bills alone were $2.8 million, and thankfully I had insurance. But I was given that. The insurance company tried to sue me to get all of that money that was given me to reimburse them for their costs, which would have meant I would have had nothing. Now, I said to the lawyer, I said, I don't know what you need to do. I don't know who you need to call. But I'm telling you what, nobody's getting this money. I'll drive across the border with $700,000 cash in taxi and go to Canada and live in the mountains. No one's getting this money. No insurance company. So he understood. He worked around it. It all worked out. So I had at one point, you know, I guess what you would consider to be a lot of money. And I didn't know what to do with it. And you kind of have to figure it out quick, because it's coming down the road. You know, nobody in your family can really advise you about what to do here. So I took it over to Merrill Lynch, thinking this makes sense, right? This is what rich people do with their money. Okay, they lost $150,000 in about 14 months, right out the door. And there was other transactions that kind of went down along that line. So, but even when I had all this money, I could do with it what I wanted to do as long as I could. I still had one guiding philosophy, and that was, I need to be accountable for every penny of this. And literally, you weren't allowed to keep pennies laying around in our house. You had to go pick up pennies and put them in the jar. And because I thought to myself, if you'll just leave a certain amount of money unaccountable, in the end, you won't be accountable for any of it, really. So I was micromanaged to that level, to the level of the penny and the dime, sinking it into myself. So I bring before you the field cup. And this is where all that money went. Okay, and when I got with my husband, this was one of the only possessions that he brought with him. He didn't really have anything. He was young. And I said to him, what is that? And he said, that's a shaving cup that my great-grandfather gave to my grandfather, who gave it to my father, and now it's mine. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. And my husband comes from a family of sharecroppers who left the South and went to Indiana. So I mean, I would sit with this and I'd be like, wow, this is like where people didn't have light themselves. Like, they're like using this, you know, to get ready to like clean up. This is like sacred, you know. And I really understood how hard his family had to work for every penny, far harder than mine. My husband is black and I'm white. His family had to work out a period. I knew it. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, all these men have used this, and they really had to like work, get anything I could imagine to keep it all going. So this became the cup that you had to put all the change in. Okay? And when I would take the change, this was my prayer. I would hold the penny, dime, whatever it was that needed to be put in here, and I would pray. I would pray speaking to them through God. I would say, please teach me what I need to know to liberate our family from any cycle that's here, generational cycles they talk about in the Bible, and help me liberate the world. Teach me what I need to